reaction to this news that the Chinese government has released this image taken on Sunday showing floating objects, 3 suspected floating objects. Their sizes are 13 by 18, 14 by 19, and 24 by 22 meters. Your thoughts?
Michael Goldfarb has put his finger beautifully on the position. It's the only lead. And not only that, it is the most probable lead because it puts the plane where it should be roughly. It puts the plane to the east of Vietnam, round the Gulf of Thailand into the South China Sea, which is exactly where one would have expected the plane to be if there hadn't been this turning off to the left in the Straits of Malacca. So from the simple logistics and logic of the argument, this is far more relevant than anything else we've seen. And also it coincides roughly with this letter, this report, this rumour from an oil rig worker who said they saw some burning debris, which was being discounted in the last few hours, but now obviously is getting some credence. And one other thing, Jake, you know, the Chinese, look, I'm not a Sino expert by any means, but they certainly wouldn't be releasing this information if they felt there was something inappropriate or improper about its credence and credibility.
Richard Quest in New York. So let's just reset for a second. We have this breaking news from the Chinese government, specifically from the State Administration of Science, Technology, and Industry for National Defense, looking at all of the satellite images, trying to track down Malaysia Air Flight 370. They found this image that they just released. It comes from Sunday morning, 11 a.m., I presume local time, Sunday morning, 3 suspected floating objects. Their sizes are 13 by 18 meters, 14 by 19 meters, 24 by 22 meters. These are the images just released by the Chinese government. Michael Goldfarb, formerly of the Federal Aviation Administration, 3 images of this size. Is that consistent with an airplane, or are we just looking for any debris at all?
Let's go back to what Richard Quest said about the methodical nature that the Chinese would do in terms of releasing this information. So the fact that it may have been late, but the fact that they released it, they certainly have a good feel for this. Do we know it's debris from the aircraft? Absolutely not. But it's the first solid lead that's consistent with the path of this plane out of Kuala Lumpur. So we'll find out more. That's a very encouraging information. It could wash out like the other leads. It may not be related, but it certainly looks more promising.
And knowing the Chinese government, Richard Quest, I would find it hard to believe that they haven't already checked this out at greater length than just this satellite image.
Every sinew inside all of us is saying exactly the same thing, Jake. We may not... Look, I'm just going to simply say it outright. It's pretty inconceivable that the Chinese would risk the level of embarrassment of putting out this statement, which is detailed, which has got coordinates, which match the flight plan, and then putting out pictures, which clearly they have analysed to the nth degree. It might not be, but this is the closest, this is the best, this is the most reliable information, and this is exactly the sort of information that people like Michael Goldfarb in his previous life, in his previous job, were hoping and praying to get their hands on because it takes them much closer to the cause.